Evening, my friends in the Western Pacific. Two systems we're watching today, Francisco and Lekima. And first, I want to touch in on Francisco because this storm system wrapped up tightly over the course of the past 12 hours. Now a well-defined eye in that center of circulation. Even without recon, which we unfortunately do not have here in Japan and the Western Pacific, Dvorak analysis, this is obviously a typhoon at this point. Currently is expected to come on shore in eastern areas of Kyushu. Kagoshima, thankfully, is going to be on the southern periphery of this system, but southern areas of Shikoku over towards Kochi already feeling the impacts of some of these outer rain bands where they could see winds gusting upwards of about 170 to 180 kilometers per hour. Also, something that is possible with this. I didn't think at first it was going to be much of an issue. Very localized areas as we go ahead through Tuesday into Wednesday, especially there just towards the north of Kagoshima, could see a few 100 millimeters of rainfall, which very well, when you get that training effect, could result in flooding and some localized landslides. Now, good news, not a terribly crowded area there. It is north of Kagoshima. Fukuoka is still going to be looking at probably over 100 millimeters of precipitation. And for my friends in Iwakuni there, in southern Honshu, yeah, you're probably going to miss out on the worst of this, but really just wrapping around in Shikoku, eastern areas of Kyushu, and then extending across the island, eventually even around the Busan area in South Korea. This is going to bring a good amount of rain. Just a warning from the Japan Meteorological Agency, winds right now 70 gusting up to 100 knots, so pretty sufficient winds. That still would leave it around a Category 1 hurricane if this was in the Atlantic, but I mean, that's still enough to cause a little bit of damage out here. Good news, Kyushu, it's so typhoon prone here. A lot of the buildings are built to withstand a wind like this. So for most people outside of those very localized heavy rainfall areas, this is just going to pass on by and eventually kick off there as we go ahead into tomorrow through the Tsushima Strait and eventually off there towards Busan. While Lekima's still out there. Now, Lekima's pretty interesting in the fact that this is going to still drift off here towards the north. Winds right now about 40, gusting up to 60 knots. Still expected to become a typhoon as it nears the southwestern Japanese islands, but more and more it does look like the trend is going to be further towards the west. Doesn't look like Francisco is going to pull this towards the north, as some of the models did indicate, kind of following in its path. Instead, it will drift here more or less towards northern Taiwan, in fact. Yesterday, the model consensus looked more like this. It was all over the place, the spaghetti models, but today, this really gives you a higher amount of confidence when these lines start to come together. Now, they do differ at some point here about timing of recurvature, but really just the bulk of the consensus does pull this over northern Taiwan, which would be great news for Okinawa. I mean, this would keep it towards your south and pretty much out of the way. You're actually on the GFS model. There's your Francisco moving over southwestern Japan today. Lekima starts to develop up, plus another storm system out here in the Western Pacific, which I'm not really touching on because, I mean, that's just one more system, but that looks like it could form up near our friends in Guam. Looks like Lekima, probably northern Taiwan, southwestern Japanese islands. Still get a little bit of wraparound from Okinawa, but with all these moving parts, I want to keep an eye on this next system because this very well could, I mean, even impact Tokyo based on what we're seeing right here. Also, I do want to note everything else going on here. This is continuing the pull in southwest monsoon, which I know there has been some pretty serious flooding across the Philippines and including Manila, just an indirect effect of it. There's just so much going on. My goodness, it's simpler to track these storm systems when there's just one storm, but when you got three areas kind of interacting with each other, boy, it just throws a wrench in the whole machine. Anyways, guys, that's all for now. Hey, thanks for all the feedback yesterday too, when I mentioned that I'm still looking for a job out here and I really would love to move back to Japan. That's definitely my main goal, anywhere in the Western Pacific for that matter. So yeah, if those diehard people that are really like these updates and you're still watching and you know anybody that's hiring, or if you're hiring yourself, shoot me a message. I always appreciate that. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching.